That's right. Now, when it comes to criminal trials of this kind of magnitude and importance, especially I guess all across, the primary goal of the court is to uncover the truth. But more often than not, it's very difficult to get the outright truth because all you hear are just different versions of it. So the question then is, how do you uncover the real truth? Well, one way is to not really look at what people say with their mouths, but then look at what they say with their faces. And with us in studio, we have Marthie, who is the author of the book Legkaart van jou gesig, or Your Face Puzzle, which details the different face shapes of people and what they say about their personality and their character traits. Marthie, thank you very much for joining us. And especially at this time where it becomes very interesting to be able to have that knowledge of people's face, because physiognomy is the study that you specialize in. So tell us a bit more about how you go about analyzing people's character traits by looking at their faces.
Well, every characteristic on your face represents an aspect of your personality. So when I look at, for instance, at your forehead, I know what your thinking style is, whether it's logical or whether you have a visual mind or whatever. So by looking at each feature, I can put together a personality profile of yourself.
It sounds a bit like mind reading, but I guess it's not that. You're not saying you can predict people's thoughts.
No, not at all.
You're just saying that you can give a broad spectrum
of how they would typically think or do. Your nose, for instance, represents your work style. So by looking at the width of your nose, I can see whether you fit into a team environment or whether you're an independent worker.
Yeah, I've been told my eyes are very weird. What can you tell about my eyes?
I wouldn't say it's weird. I can just say that your bottom eyelids are quite straight, so that means that you are quite skeptical, and you would not easily trust people unless they have proved that what they say is true.
Wow, that is unnervingly accurate. But let's take a look at some of the key players. Of course, we're applying this to the Oscar Pistorius Trial, and what their faces might say about their personality, starting off with the man of the hour, I guess, Oscar. You've had a look at some of his pictures.
Yes.
What do you make of his character traits and his personality by looking at his face?
Well, obviously, everybody wants to know how he would react. Now, he's got low brows, which means that he is quite impatient, and he doesn't like people to tell him long stories. So if there's a disagreement, for instance, he would not be very patient listening to what the other person has to say.
Wow.
So he would very easily interrupt people, finish their sentences for them, etc. His ears, for instance, are also very high. The tips of his ears are higher than his eyes, so that means that he can take very quick decisions, and he may even be impulsive. So no judgment, it's just what it is.
Yes.
So I can't say whether he's guilty or not, but because I'm not a fortune teller, but I can say what his typical traits are and what the behavior would be according to that.
And this is all based on the study of physiognomy?
Yes, that's correct. So we're looking at the shape, size and position of features, and that explains a little bit more about the characteristic traits.
Wow, I mean, we're going to move on to Advocate Barry Roux, but I just want to know, for interest's sake, how was it established that, for instance, a person with a low brow is a person who takes very quick decisions, and, you know, were studies done?
Yes, this theory is about 5,000 years old, and they didn't have Google those back in those days, so it's basically based on observation throughout the years, so the proof is in the pudding in the end.
Okay, let's move on to, I think, one of everyone's favorite, defense advocate Barry Roux.
Yes.
He's had many different facial expressions, and as you can see, his face, I mean, obviously a little bit aged, but what can you tell from his face?
Well, first of all, we know that he is a real bulldog. He's got the nickname of Bulldog, and I can see that in his eyebrows, he's got what we call chameleon eyebrows. And that means that you can hardly see, you really have to look close to see what the shape and thickness of his eyebrows are. So he would actually make out a very good spy as well.
Wow.
Because he is able to get information from people, but he seldom gives information out. So if you want to ask him a specific question, you will get your specific answer. But if you just ask him a general question, he would give you a very vague answer.
Yes.
So he's very good at getting information out of people. Also the low brows, which means that he will interrupt people, finish their sentences for them, and we have seen that now in the court. What is very interesting also is his very strong jaw, actually his chin that protrudes, and that means he's got a strong will. So he would not be easily discouraged.
He doesn't back down easily,
not
so
at
he's
all,
like
no.
that bulldog mentality, just
That's
keep
right,
on
and
going.
he forces himself onto those people. And also the grooves around his nostrils means that he feels he has to work harder than other people to get the same recognition.
Wow.
And he's really working harder than most.
My
when he's,
goodness.
He's questioning.
This is all incredibly interesting, and of course he's the man who's also revolutionized the phrase putting it to you. You know, let me put it to you this
Yes.
way. Everyone's using it right now. But well, Marthie, thank you very, very much. The book is called Your Face Puzzle, or Legkaart van jou gesig.
That's
and it's a
correct.
really, really interesting read. Thank you very much for featuring me in the book. I really
Thank
do
you.
appreciate that. I hope you found some interest in my face. But yeah, as you heard, it is truly fascinating what you can tell about a person by looking at their face, and perhaps you might want to, you know, learn something or two from it. Now, as the Oscar Pistorius trial continues in Pretoria this morning, it is important, I guess, not just to hear what people say, but to really look at their faces and determine, I guess, their personalities and character traits that are behind their voices. We'll continue bringing you daily updates of the murder trial, of course, tomorrow, recapping the day's events, but you are also welcome to follow in-depth details on sabcnews.com. We'll be right back after this.